And I like to bring this up because, especially once you become a parent, I mean, it is so hard to spend this time. When in your life do you daydream, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking about like when are you alone and when are you going through your checklist? Like I've got to do this and then this and then this. And I'm like thinking how to solve these problems that are imminent and happening in my daily life or in my business. When does your mind wander?
Yeah.
And where does it wander? And spend more time in that space, because I get very clear about just doing it, and then I don't require a lot of outside validation in critical moments of just doing it, and honoring things like, you know, running my business the way that I
Yeah.
did was a decision I made. It was scary. It was brave of me to do it. I was second guessing myself a lot because, you know, I'd never taken a business class, and all the traditional business minded people were kind of laughing at me. But anyway, I think that's a big unlock too, is where are you spending time alone and letting your mind wander? I get my best ideas in the car, so I've carved time in the car. Even if
Yes.
I don't need to be in the car, I make sure I have a certain amount of
Yeah.
time in the car. Where is it for you? Where does your
It's
mind wander?
funny. No, it's funny you mentioned that. I know you don't love flying. I know quite a few things about you, Sarah. And, like we got to spend two months together. But I don't love flying either. I fly like crazy. It's embarrassing. I was like platinum on Delta, whatever. Beyond that, what diamond on Delta and 1K on United, like for years to come, because like it's embarrassing and gross how much I've had to travel in my work. But I love driving for that reason. There's just something so uniquely. I think maybe because you are getting from a point A to point B, then you feel. For me, it's like I feel super efficient, and so then the thinking time comes freely, because then I'm not like oh I should be like working out, or I should be doing something. I don't know I've thought about that, but I too. It's funny when I observed, when I observed the signs that you were kind of doing that, thinking, go checking out hotels to just go think. To me, that is doing something. Like you might have this idea. It's back to like you have an idea, and it sounds kind of wacky or whatever, and or even maybe it even sounds like too self-indulgent or something. I'm not talking about anything, but you just go do it. Go check into a hotel for a couple days and like eat 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 at the restaurant and be alone and really I do this now if I'm able to when I travel sometimes, and it's tough because I want to go always to a showroom and drop in, and I do some of that too. But if I can get a few hours even, let alone half a day or a day, uh, basically laying in a bed without falling asleep, and that's hard to do sometimes, but like, and focused on, and I
Yeah,
solve design problems, I invent things, I
right.
build them and tear them down, I challenge, I pressure test. I talk about this in my book coming up as well, but I very much believe that that's a huge part of doing, but it's different than just like, oh, I had an idea and like, someday I'll get around to it. It's like the act of intense focus and strategizing, like you're describing, I think is very much a doing kind of work.
I feel like I always say to people, where is it on your calendar to daydream or
Mm.
spend time alone? You know, I mean, it's like it's really where the best thinking happens, where you get your next idea to just go do something.
Mm.
That's the space where those ideas are going to come to you.
And what about how would you parlay this bias for action? Just do something, any of it, to address people who don't feel like they're an entrepreneur, don't want to be, aren't interested. They should. Listen, if everyone were an entrepreneur, the world would be a terrible place. Like I'm very grateful for all the people willing to build this with me. I'm happy if they also want to go, do their own thing someday. Like, I'd support anybody, but I'm a big believer that you need people who want to be part of something. How do you think about this bias, this just do something approach, as it applies to people not entrepreneurial?
Well, I mean, I can give you an example of a just do it, something that happened to me as a mother. I have had it in my mind that I want to have a family meeting every Sunday. And I implemented it 2 Sundays ago. And I'm learning as I go, but I had the bias for action to do it. Jesse's like, what are we
Yes.
doing? And what is this about? And I said, well, when you think about businesses and you're building a culture and you have a
Mm-hmm.
common goal and people feel very connected, there's such a disconnect that happens in the family union, you know? And so I want to take a lot of the things that I learned from being in a corporate setting that really was so important and into the family. And I was just like,
Yes.
let's just try it. So we have a family meeting. We've had two on Sundays. So I would say this, just do it. If you have an idea, it can be implemented as a parent. It can be implemented in your daily life, to bring, more interesting experiences into your life. It can help your connections with the people you love. So we go around and we share with each other. It's an open forum, and we share with each other. Everybody gets the floor in our family meeting, and they discuss what happened in the last week, what's coming up, what's on their mind. I always say, do you guys have anything you need advice from? Here's the core unit of people who have your absolute best interest. Like, what's on your mind? Let us all put our thinking power together. I have a quote book. Everybody reads a quote from the quote book, and we'll discuss the quote. You're allowed to bring something to the family meeting, and it's been really successful. I mean, we've really
Wow.
connected as a family. I want to create a family mission statement. I
Mm-hmm.
want to create, all of these things I think
Yeah.
would be really great. So this is something I just recently did. And instead of trying to have it all figured out up front, I called the meeting, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so I'm
Yes.
learning as I go. And I'm like, okay, now I know I need to allot maybe time slots for each person, because
Yes.
one person went on way too long. And so we'll just finesse it as we go. But that's how I
You know,
roll. I'm like, let's just start it and finesse it as we're going.
that is